Okay, so let's get started. Let me get my, there we go. So hopefully the cursor's there so I can stop the recording efficiently. And so we're going to start sitting. So starting in Sukhasana. And using those arms, leaning back a little or maybe a lot, squinging in the hip joints as needed. And then finishing up with that, letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhaling and exhaling. Using that breath to draw your focus more and more onto your mat, into your body. Noticing anything that brings itself to your attention this morning. And we'll take a few more breaths, just being with wherever we are this morning, whatever we've got to work with this morning. And reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up, taking up lots of space, breathing them down. Let's breathe the arms up. And then we'll head for a side bend over to the right. Lift a little more, going to the right. Right hand floats to the floor, deepening into the side bend. And let's see if we can get that right arm back up overhead, pressing the arms down. Arms up and down once. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then we'll come up and go over to the left. We lift up, side bending up and over to the left, floating that left hand to the floor. And then coming back up, carrying that left arm back up, pressing those arms down. Once more, up and down both arms. Inhale and exhale, evening out those two sides. And then we will change the cross of the legs. And let's come forward, pouring out and over, breathing across the back of the body. And then come up, back up on top of those sitting bones. Let's take a twist to the right. Inhale, making lots of space. Exhale and twist. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, deepen the twist. And back to the center, twisting to the left. Inhale and exhale. Every breath, a subtle action. Lengthening up a little more space. The twist just gently deepens into the space. Coming back to the center. And then let's go out to Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. And you can hold on to the ankles or shins, really lengthening up through the top of the head. And then coming forward, using the elbows, pressing down and out on those inner thighs, or reaching through the knees. And then coming up, and we're going to slide the legs out in front, really feeling that transition. So take the arms behind if that's going to help. Pressing out through the heels, the legs turn to parallel. Big yawn at the back of the knees along the floor. Let's twist to the left. Inhale and exhale. Lengthening through the spine, deepening the twist, and then feeling those sliding ribs. Back of the right rib cage comes a little forward, front of the left pulls back. Coming back to the center, let's twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space, exhale and twist. And then feeling that slide, the sliding ribs there, the off-center lateral pull. Back of the left rib cage forward, front of the right rib cage back. And coming back to the center. Pulling those legs back into Baddha Konasana for a moment. And then again, very deliberately out to Konasana. So you can lean back on the hands if that's going to help. Pressing out through the heels, trying to get the backs of the legs on the floor. So we're trying not to have the little toe side of the foot going more toward the floor. Let's come forward. Inhaling into the center of the body, exhale, pouring out and over. And coming up, very deliberately drawing those legs back into Baddha Konasana. Press the feet together, long through the top of the head, coming forward again. Up, let's slide those legs out straight, pressing out through the heels, turning the legs to parallel. All right, we will twist to the right this time. Inhale, lots of space, exhale and twist, drawing that twist up through the spine, breathing and making space. Back of the left ribs forward, front of the right ribs back. And then let's see if we can take the hands to Namaste and just hold the twist with the muscles. Right, finding all those twisting actions, slowly bring the hands up, palms of the hands together. So sometimes we want to keep the thumbs by the sternum. Let's this time press a little more back. So pushing into the right hand, but don't scrunch your shoulders. So the hands might be a little more towards your right shoulder. Pushing into the left hand. Back to the center. And then let's twist to the left. Inhale and exhale. Lengthening up through the spine. Using the breath. And sliding the ribs, front of the rib, right forward, back of the left. Wait, the other way around. Back of the right forward, front of the left back. I don't know what I'm saying. You probably don't know either. It's easier to do than say, I think. Breathing, there we go. And then let's bring the hands to Namaste, holding as much of the twist as we can with our own muscles. Slowly bringing the hands together, and then a little bit of a push through the right hand, so the hands can shift a little toward the left shoulder. Sometimes, depending on what we're doing with the twist, we want to keep the hands right, thumbs right at the sternum, but let's press a little more back for this. So keeping those shoulders level, don't squinch them up. Coming back to the center, let's take a forward bend here. Inhale and exhale, pouring out and over. And then coming up. And let's go to downward facing dog now. Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Two nice long equal parallel sides. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do there. And then finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. And let's lengthen forward to the plank. Pulling the shoulder blades back to the sitting bones out, the heels, tailbone coming forward to the top of the head. So you can even do a little tiny movement like I just did there, if you have room. Sometimes, depending on exactly where those feet are, there's not much room to actually do a little movement. Sides back, center line forward. Strong abdominal muscles. And we're just going to go right to child's pose. If you want to kind of do a little vinyasa here, go ahead. Or else just bring the knees down, pulling back into child's pose. And then sliding forward onto our stomach into the Sphinx, pulling forward and up wide collarbones. So we're doing that widening across both the front of the ribs and the back of the ribs here. And pulling back a little more with the hands, maybe the elbows will lighten up or lift. And coming down. And let's interlock the fingers behind. Give the shoulders a roll out. So just take a couple breaths long along the floor here with your nose hovering an inch or so above the floor. Inhaling and exhaling, sides going back, center line lengthening forward. Squeeze the upper arms toward each other. And then we'll lengthen to lift. So maybe we don't lift so very high yet. Slowly release the hands, palms face the ceiling, big thumbs trying to pull toward each other. And coming down. And then let's peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog. A little rippling through the cat and cow if you like. And then here we all are, downward facing dog. And then looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up, pouring over. Taking a couple breaths here. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Feeling like we're doing that salabhasana there on the floor a little bit. And pressing those arms down, long through the top of the head. Let's come all the way to namaste. And then coming back over. Big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. We will step back, wait, concave back, and then we'll step back with the left leg into the long, low lunge, really lengthening that out. And then bringing the left knee down, coming up in a Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back, breathing here. Let's take a circle around with the arms. All the way back up overhead. And then taking a half circle around, and we're going to come to the eagle pose, arms, right arm crossing under or holding the shoulders, either one. Inhale and exhale, breathing across the upper back. And then release the arms, straightening up that left leg, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, any version, downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up. And through to the lunge. And this time we'll come up in the warrior one, though it could be the high lunge, but the warrior one will be the default. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to do the same arm pattern we just did in the kneeling lunge. Taking a few breaths here. And then circling the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And a half circle and right arm under eagle pose arms. And release the arms, stepping forward into the concave, back halfway up, folding over, taking a breath or two here in the forward bend, drawing up through the legs, pouring down through the top of the head. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And pressing those arms down all the way around to namaste in front. And then let's come over. Big inhale up. And exhale, diving over. Concave back, folding over, stepping back with the right leg. Lengthen out that lunge a moment. And then bring right knee down. Yeah, come on in. Right knee down and coming up. We're just on the left side here, so it will all be fine. As you sit up, we'll be done with this left side. Here we are. Inhale and exhale. And then bringing the arms around, full circle around and back up overhead. Half circle and coming around to the eagle pose arms. And then releasing the arms, coming down, straighten that right leg, stepping back to the plank. Vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. And then we will lift our left leg up. through to the lunge. And we'll come up in the warrior one, though if you'd really prefer the high lunge, that's fine. Coming up. Breathing here, settling into the pose. And then circling the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And then half circle around to the eagle pose, left arms under. Yeah, so just sit the cross legs for a moment, do a downward facing dog, and we'll all be meeting up soon. All right, breathing here. And then release the arms, coming down, stepping forward. Into the concave back, folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Here we are. And around to namaste in front. And let's come forward. Oh, interlock fingers this time. Circle those shoulders, interlock the fingers behind. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin, coming over, pressing out through the hands. And release the hands. And then we're going to put a little bend in the knees and we're going to toe heel our feet out off the edges of the mat until we come to the elephant rider. And then bringing those arms up on the inner thighs, giving a press back, a little scoop forward. Like you're dragging those heels toward each other. And then coming around in the temple pose, coming up, bringing the arms up overhead, three-pointed star. And keep lifting even as the knees bend, the hands keep lifting even as the elbows bend and hands come to namaste in front. Pressing those outer knees back, pulling the abdominal muscles back. And then tipping forward, straighten the legs. Keep the outer rotation and we'll take a few breaths here. Like you're drawing up through the arch of the foot, spiraling around the leg up into the sitting bones, into the gluteus maximus there. You think about dragging the outer heels toward the center, that sort of does that action, rotating the thigh bones into the hip joints. And then let's walk our hands over toward the right leg any amount. Putting a little bend in the knees as needed. And then walking the hands back toward the left leg. Back to the center. Deep breath. And then a little bend in the knees so we can toe heel our feet back together into Uttanasana. And let's take a little bend in the knees into the chair pose. And releasing over. Concave back, folding over. We're going to go through the vinyasa, but end up on our stomach on the floor in the small cobra or something like that. So you could do a full vinyasa and then lower. You could just kind of come to the floor. So I'm just going to do my usual kneeling vinyasa and come to the floor. All right, off we go to the plank, lowering down, taking the long road or the short road, and we'll all be in a small cobra for a couple breaths. Squeeze those elbows in, pulling them back, and then coming down. Let's interlock the fingers behind, rolling those shoulders out. Feeling long and flat. And this time as we lift up, just lifting the right leg as we lift the upper body. Inhale and exhale, lifting with the right. And holding 3, 2, 1. Up, coming down. And then the left. Lengthen and lift, breathing. 3, coming down, release the hands. Then we're going to do that again, but we're not going to interlock the fingers. We're just going to reach and pull the thumbs toward each other. So you could always interlock the fingers and make it a little bit easier on the arms. All right, so lengthen and let's lift with the upper body, pulling the thumbs toward each other. They might even touch there. And then we'll lift the right leg. And 3. Coming down. All right, one more leg to go. Lengthen to lift. We're not going to do both, so you can be thankful for that. Coming down. Let's peel ourselves back up. The downward facing dog. And if you'd like to go through more vinyasa aim, go ahead. Or just holding that downward facing dog, or even in child's pose or anything else. And then we're all in downward facing dog. And looking between the hands to jump a step forward. Into that concave back. Folding over. And coming up to standing, big front body. And hands around to namaste in front. And let's Utkatasana, the chair pose. Let's do the Ripley way into the chair pose today. Big front body yawn. Bend the knees, letting your butt stick out, really arching, and then reaching the arms around, a little scoop with the tailbone under, flatten and lengthen everything out into the chair pose. Belly and ribs up against the spine. And twisting to the right, nice wide arms, pulling fingertip to fingertip. And then bringing that right arm around, hands to namaste. I have to remind you of all our twisting actions, long through the spine, sliding the ribs. And to the center, reaching those arms forward. Take a nice deep breath in our chair. And then releasing over, straightening the legs. Concave back, folding over. Let's step back with the left leg. And then turning that foot down to 90 degrees. Bring the arms inside. So this is a little like Monday for those who are here. And then straightening up that right leg. So we have like our triangle collapse down. Taking a few breaths here. Feel like you're doing that. Drag the feet together, making the legs strong. And then we'll come into the triangle with a twist to the left. Sliding up the front of the left ribs, pouring down the back of the right, long through the top of the head. And maybe coming to namaste here, big reach around with the left hand, right comes up to the left. And then from here, we'll warrior two. Bending the right knee, pressing into the right hand. That's how we know our knee was locked, if you do what I just did. And then breathing the hands up the center line, pull the city bones down more in that warrior two. Reaching wide and flat. Warrior two, breathing here. And dancing warrior, side bend away. And wind going down to the floor, stepping forward. Take a couple deep breaths here in the forward bend. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And around to namaste. We'll take a couple breaths here. So if you want to go over and grab a block, you can. Or maybe it's all right now. All right. Breathing, adjusting here and clothing as needed. All right, here we go around with the other side. And we'll ripple ourselves into the chair pose again. Big front body yawn. And then bend the knees, arching even more. Stick your butt out, arms come around, do a little tuck, and then lengthen out. And then we'll twist to the left here. Nice wide arms long through the top of the head. And then bringing that left arm around, hands to namaste. Doing the sliding ribs, lengthen to twist more, breathing deeply. And namaste to the center. Reaching forward, sitting back a little more comfortably in your chair. And releasing over. Concave back, folding over. So now we'll step back with the right leg. So we have our left leg in front. Turn that right foot down 90 degrees. Walking the hands to the right diagonal inside, straightening up that left leg. And we'll take a few breaths here. Feel like you're drawing the legs together. And then we'll twist to the right to come into our triangle. So if you want to grab your block there, so bring the block back by your left foot. Don't just leave it out there. So bring it, yeah. So think of it as an arm extension. And if you're using the block here at home, the block's your arm extension. So you take that block, you put it wherever your arm would be, wherever that hand would reach to. All right. We're twisting right, sliding the front of the right ribs up, back of the left, down, long through the top of the head. And then maybe the hands to namaste, pressing that left hand up into the right, really twisting. We don't want that right shoulder to fall toward the floor. And the warrior two. Pressing the left hand a little into the right to bring you there. Anchoring the sitting bones down as you bring the arms up to center line. Reach, and then pressing wide. Breathing here. Dancing warrior. And windmilling down, stepping forward into the concave back, folding over, breathing here. All right, and then we're going to have a time of options, though it's always a time of options. We will make our way back toward downward facing dog. Though on the way, you could do some side planks or not. So let's see, let's take a little jumper step to downward facing dog. You can stay there and then maybe come to child's pose, or it's always an option to do the kneeling side plank as we lengthen forward into the plank. So let's go on to our right arm first. So it's like the first triangle we did on the right. Pivot onto the outer edges of the feet, maybe stacking the feet or maybe not. And breathing here, feeling almost that twist. There's a little front of the right, left ribs up, back ribs down, long through the top of the head. And then we'll come back to the plank and we'll do the other side. You can always put the knee down or be improvising on your own here. All right, on to the left. Maybe you have one foot in front of the other. Maybe it feels like you can stack the feet. And then really working through the torso and the core. You know, so that's a part I sometimes don't work enough in side plank because frankly, that left arm is very distracting. Anyway, pulling a little up through the front of the right ribs, only a little. And then down through the back of the left. Breathing. You don't have to still be here. You're maybe not here any longer. So we'll all meet up in downward facing dog and or child's pose. And back to the plank. You could go through a vinyasa here. Downward facing dog or child's pose, maybe you're there. And wherever we are, we'll take 3 deep breaths. Just letting yourself be. All right, and then we're going to make our way forward again. And into the concave back, folding over. So while we're down here, before we come up, you might want the block in front for the next little section. We're going to do the twisting with our straight legs here. So maybe get the block while you're down here and get it in front of you if you want, and then coming up. Big front body yawn. Number 2, use whatever height of the block it turns out you need, and let's come around to namaste. Breathing here, samasthiti, steadiness. And let's come over. Big inhale up, and exhale, diving over. And then lengthening out on tippy fingers or maybe on that block, trying to make as long and spacious a spine as you need. So making the block higher if needed. So this is not about being over far. It's about having that spine as extended as you can. And if those knees get into that walking knee thing, which I seem to be having today, you can always put a little bend and maybe re-extend, trying not to jam the knees back as we twist to the right. Reaching up with that right side, really using the right ribs to pull you up. Left ribs pull down. You can think of the left ribs pressing a little to the right as well. Breathing here. Maybe bringing the hands to namaste. Pressing up with the left hand to help, rolling that right shoulder a little more up and open. And then just turn and release toward the floor. And we will step back with the left leg. Turning that left foot down to 90 degrees. This time we're going to keep our right leg bent, bringing the arms inside the right leg again. And give a little push with the elbow there. And then we're going to the side angle as a twist. So maybe the block under your right hand here in front of the leg if you want. And then we'll twist, pressing that right arm against the right leg. Feeling that twisting leftness now. And then I think we know it's coming, hands to namaste. The nice thing here is you have an option to actually let that right elbow rest on the right leg for a little bit more support. Try not to let that left shoulder come down though. Twist, lots of core work here. And the kind of core work that can be challenging to figure out how to access. And let's try to breathe at the same time. Warrior 2, pressing into the right hand to come up. Breathing the hands up the center, pressing wide and flat. Dancing warrior. And windmilling down. Maybe you need to move the block there, and we'll step forward. Deep breath. And then you can always have a bent knees here, even a lot of a bent knees, and make it a little standing child's pose if you like. And then we will come up to standing big front body yawn. Around to namaste. Breathing here. And then we'll go to the other side. Relaxing the face and the jaw. And let's come over. Here we go, big lift up. We've only got one more leg, thank goodness. Diving over. And then lengthening out on tippy fingers, their long spine. Using whatever height of the block you need or want. So remember, we're not trying to come down far. We're trying to lengthen out far as we twist to the left. And using a little bend in the knees as needed. Breathing here. Really drawing up with the left rib so that left arm doesn't have to pull you up on its own. Supported by the whole spine, by all the core muscles. And then maybe bringing the hands around to namaste. Press the right hand up into the left. Good. Feeling like that left shoulder is doing a little roll down and back. Trying to keep breathing. And then just release and center. A little bend in the knees and stepping back with the right leg. Grounding that right foot down at 90 degrees. Take a moment just doing a little of that roller derby stretch here. All right. Then we'll twist into Parsvakonasana, maybe using the block for the left hand there. And wedge that left arm right against the leg. So bring the block in right against your left inner foot. Yeah. And then the left hand goes on the block. And twisting up. And so you can push the arm and the leg against each other there. And twisting up to the right. And then maybe a namaste. So you can use as much or as little support from that left elbow on the thigh. And to roll that right shoulder down and back, twisting right. Warrior two, pressing that left hand into the right. Breathing the arms up the center line. Pressing and reaching wide and parallel to the floor. You can check the alignment of that left knee. Couple breaths here. Dancing warrior. And windmilling down, stepping forward, into the concave back, folding over, taking a couple of breaths here. You can put a bend in the knees if you want. And then we'll bend the knees, coming down to the floor. And we'll get our block and we'll go all the way down. And let's do the block under the sacrum. So we'll finish with a nice passive back bend. Or you could do the bridge pose. Or there's always as well the combination of both. You get the block in place. And then you take a bridge pose for a moment. And then as you're ready, you can come back down onto the block and slide the legs out to straight. Inhale and exhale. And then a little cooperation with the block, or maybe not if that's where you are. But Finding a place. How much work do you want to put into this? How easeful can you be and maintain the integrity of the shape? Inhaling into the lower belly, exhale, pouring into the floor. I'll take a few more breaths here. And bending knees, lifting up off the block, taking a roll down into the floor. And let's take figure 4, or it could be right in Shavasana, crossing the right leg over, reaching to a triangle, pulling that in. And of course, you can be halfway to Shavasana here in the figure 4. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we will switch sides. And then into Shavasana. So as so often happens, don't really have any time on the clock. Internal time, however, can be infinite by being mindful of each moment, letting each moment expand as we inhale, feeling the full length of that inhale, feeling the full length of that exhale. And of course, if you have more time there, you can always stay a little longer. And then breathing back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going. Stretching the arms up overhead. Bending knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming to actually maybe not so very gentle vinyasa.